Along with Judge Morris making history, we also met with a young man in Pennsylvania who decided to become the change he wanted to see.
Yeah, after a couple of negative run-ins with the law, Hanif Johnson decided it was time to step up and step in.
I've been arrested 3 times, so a lot of the times I felt like I wasn't given a fair opportunity. A lot of times when I was looking over at someone, it was someone that didn't look like me. They weren't from my area. They didn't understand what happens in my area. So it was like I felt like it was like an unfair perspective in a sense.
That short time behind bars was enough to set Hanif Johnson on a path to become the youngest judge in Pennsylvania by the age of 27. Years of being falsely accused showed him the need for someone like him to take the bench.
I think to a lot of people, they looked and said, oh, this guy's too young.
One reason farmers may not be eligible is because of the formula used to determine who gets what, with $5.1 billion going to cattle farmers and $2.9 billion going to dairy. Farmers need to have experienced a 5% decrease from January through April. Small farmers say they can't typically plan the specific months when they will sell their crops.
USDA describes a small farm as fewer than 1,000 acres and less than $250,000 in gross sales. So while many local farmers may not meet the requirements for government assistance, you can help them rebound.
We sat down with the Montford Point Marines, a group of black men who integrated the Marines, fighting racism and injustice, all while fighting for their country.
They wanted us to fail, because they didn't want us in there in the first place. So, they were hoping that we would fail so they could be all white again,
Before World War II, the Marine Corps was an all-white male institution. But on June 25, 1941, President Roosevelt signed Executive Order 8802, which prohibited ethnic or racial discrimination in the nation's defense industry.
We all knew we weren't going to Parris Island. Parris Island was strictly for white Marines. No blacks were allowed. So we had Muffin Point Camp, which was set up for blacks.
In 2011, Greg's symptoms began to present more aggressively, so he decided to leave his highly stressful and demanding job to stay home with their 3 children full-time.
The older they get, they've developed a sense of empathy that I think is above their years.
Yeah, they're very connected into their dad. And it's gradual because we have a 9-year-old and a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old and a 14-year-old.
Yeah, they don't cut me any slack because I have MS.
No. But they do watch differently. They look at times where they need to help. They look and see if he needs something. I mean, he fell in the garage last week and he couldn't get up. And Liam, he FaceTimed him, thankfully, and Liam came up and helped him get up.
While his family and friends call Greg an inspiration, for him, it's just his nature.
Black Greek life. For some, it is a means to an end. For others, it is a way to be a light. For me, it is an opportunity for service, sisterhood, and a chance to make a difference in the community where I work and live. I'm Kelly Swoop, a member of the Divine Nine. Tonight we take a look at a piece of Black history that is bridging the gap all over the world. 9 different organizations, all with the same goal in mind. Alpha Phi Alpha was the first intercollegiate Greek letter fraternity established for African American men, founded at Cornell University in 1906. The 7 founders came together recognizing the need for a strong bond of brotherhood among African descendants in this country.
Understand, most of us were created just at the turn of the century.
This country put in over $50 billion to save General Motors when the country almost went into a depression. And then just locally, we put in federal, state, and local over $100 million, and you're saying you're going to leave us? And the best employees that you have in the country? We can't understand this. It makes no sense.
Somebody in the government needs to stop this.
A sentiment felt by at least one man who purchased a Chevy and loves his Chevy, but says it may be his last.
Why they're closing this plant and sending our stuff to Mexico is crazy. People got to realize I'm a Vietnam vet from 1968 in the Marines. This country is ours. It should be built here. If they're going to build Chevrolets, then nobody should ever buy another Chevrolet there is.
Maryland and Baltimore County leaders fought to keep GM's Baltimore operations local, but by November 2018, the decision had been made. Baltimore County Executive John Olszewski Jr. recalls how those conversations went.
We met directly with the members of the plant very early on to affirm that we were committed to them and doing all that we could to keep it open.
As Elmer grew older, his parents recognized that their boys were going to end up dead or in jail if they didn't get out of the South. The racism that their parents lived through, their children refused.
The sons was going to put up with it. We left at a young age because that they know that we went put up with it. My father and mother always told me, you know, you left home, you're out there now, you're traveling. Tell you one thing what you have to do, you have to make sure you fill the tank up full of gas where you don't have to stop traveling, just stay on the main road. They never stop. Because I would drive, driving from North Carolina. You stayed on 95, just 95 to Baltimore, 95 to Carolina. You never get off the road. If I got off the main road and went down a dirt road, or I never know what might happen.
You never know what could happen. Making a wrong turn can land you in a sundown town, a place where blacks weren't allowed after the sun went down. Running out of gas could lead you into the hands of the Ku Klux Klan. Traveling without a green book can mean the difference between life and death.
One story passed down through community members is the story of how Harriet helped her niece, Keziah, escape. Keziah was married to a free man, John Bowley, but she and her children were about to be placed on the auction block.
Keziah was going to be auctioneered off to be sold. They didn't know where, Keziah and her children. So every time someone would raise the price of their auction, John Bowley would top it, even though he didn't have any money. When the auctioneer decided that he was going to take a lunch break, he didn't shackle them. So John Bowley took his wife and his children by a hand and led them down High Street. They hid and until they could get away to take a boat, and they went to Baltimore to meet Harriet Tubman.
So she hears about this couple, and lo and behold, it's family members of her. And so she decides that she's going to go down to Baltimore and bring them the rest of the way. And Mr. Still is telling her, no, don't do that, it's too dangerous. You're a fugitive slave yourself. You could get caught and then be enslaved again. And she says, no, I'm going to do it. And so she comes down to Baltimore and brings the people from here back to Philadelphia and get their freedom. So her first journey on the Underground Railroad as far as helping liberate other people was here in Baltimore.
On this same high street where Harriet's niece escaped, there's another story coming to light. Lizzie Amby was enslaved by Dr. Alexander Bailey and used the Underground Railroad to run away to freedom.
Thanks to the current homeowner and the State Highway Administration, more about this story is now being unveiled.